Hey there, welcome to another brand new episode of CPOV Autographs. I, of course, am your intrepid host, Matt, aka Stormageddon. Before we get into this week's episode, I just want to briefly shout out my merch store one more time before Pride Month ends. This is the last episode to air within Pride Month, and I just want to tell you that if you want some cool merch and also want to support someone who's queer and wacky, you should buy mine. You can find my merch stuff and all the other things that I do, of course, at djstormageddon.com. Click on the link that says merch, and it'll take you right to the store. I actually did update the merch store recently, added some new t-shirts, some new mugs, a whole bunch of cool stuff. So go ahead, check that out. It's a great way to support me is by giving a queer person like myself your money. Anyhow, enough about that, enough capitalism. Let's move on to this week's episode and my chat with the incredible Patrick Willems. Patrick is back, sans Torpies this time, to chat a little bit about his brand new film, Night of the Coconut, as well as all of the other cool stuff that has happened since we last spoke back in 2019. It was great to chat with Patrick again. I got to go to the New York premiere of his film, which was incredible. It's such a great film. Please go watch it. We'll talk more about it in the episode, but enough rambling, enough fanboying. Here's my incredible chat with the brilliant, kind, and delightful Patrick Willems. I wanted to start by talking about, I can't believe that the last time you were on was with the Torpies back in November of 2019. And in that time, I switched networks. There's been a whole ass pandemic and you released a feature film. Hell, I don't think Charles existed back then. I think in 2019, that was before Charles.
And it was a handful of months before the show that we were there to talk about went on hiatus and has not resumed.
No, it has not. Yeah, you were doing a ton of podcasting back then, and now you're doing almost none.
I would say, other than guest appearances.
You've been a guest on a ton of stuff, though, in that time, which has been really cool to see, having some really interesting convos. But before we get too far in, since I never know when I'm going to edit this stupid intro, I am chatting with the incredible Patrick Willems of Charles fame, of Night of the Coconut fame. Welcome to the show, Patrick. It's great to have you back.
Hey, yeah, pleasure to be here. This time, solo.
You dropped the dead weight of those Torpies, and you're a rolling solo, bringing in all that cheddar.
So much better now, yeah.
I'm so glad to have you back on. I had the absolute pleasure of being at the premiere at the IFC Center of Night of the Coconut, your feature film, which was just, as an audience member who knows the people who created this thing, it was so cool to be there, just to be a part of it. I know you talked about this in a little bit in your incredible interview with David Chen, but I do want to talk a little bit about what that was like. As someone who's been wanting to release a feature film, has been wanting to do something like that, to have it all coalesce based on a stupid coconut and a weird narrative in your YouTube videos, what does it feel like to culminate with that live premiere?
It's okay. It's a complicated question. I will say, the simple answer to that is that getting to have a proper movie premiere was the coolest thing in the world. It was I really can't overstate how great it was. That was the best night I've had in years. Just seeing everybody together, seeing, not just getting to see so many people from different parts of my lives, whether it's people that I made the movie with, actually people who worked on the movie who had never met in person. Yeah. Then my mother, and so many people that I love there together, all having a great time, meeting each other. That was incredible. And then look, just to, to speak kind of self-servingly, it's really cool when lots and lots of people cheer and applaud for you. And especially because, making YouTube videos, you're really working in a weird little, in a vacuum where I release videos on the internet and honestly, if a video gets 50,000 views or like 500,000 views, the experience isn't like much different at all, other than the numbers are a little bit different, and like it really doesn't change at all. It's just like all you sit at home and you look at text and numbers on a screen and go like, oh, I guess people like it. Okay, cool. And so sitting in a theater and hearing people react like live to stuff that I worked on, whether it's like them laughing at jokes that we put a lot of time and effort into crafting, are cheering when, I don't know, characters appear or whatever, all of that stuff. Like the fact, I will say, it is helpful that people seemed to actually like the movie.
Sure.
That makes a difference too. It would have been very different if they didn't. But yeah, it's a completely different experience than like releasing creative work on the internet like I usually do. And that was incredible. And the thing that is really wild to me that kept hitting me during the night is that obviously I have wanted to make feature-length movies for pretty much as long as I can remember. If I'm being honest, this is not the first time I've done it. I made like a trilogy of feature-length films in high school that I don't really count, but still, not to take anything away from those experiences where I learned so much, and they were with a lot of the same people who, I made Night of the Coconut with. But it's a thing that I always wanted to do and intended to do. And of course, there was always the fear of like, am I ever going to actually get to do this? And this project was not supposed to be that thing. This is supposed to be a thing that's fun. And like, oh, we have more of a budget than we usually do, but this wasn't supposed to be the feature film. Like the fact that all this premiere and everything happened for this thing, if you had told me that a year ago, I would be like, that's ridiculous. That doesn't make sense. No, this is going to be a short film, and we'll be on to new. I'll be making something totally different a year from now. So there is a very long answer to your simple question.
I appreciate very long answers to simple questions, but like, it was so cool. Also, I want to say, anyone who may have found their way here from other things that Patrick has done in the last 3 to 4 weeks talking about this film, I cannot overstate enough how right Patrick is about how much of a celebrity his mom was. Like, as personal experience, like I could not wait to meet her and was so excited to meet your mom and your sister because they're so awesome. But like, it was so fun to come out of the movie because I had walked out with your mom and a few other people, and like, just, I'm guessing patrons or random folks just go, "You're so great. I can't believe it." And she was lovely, of course, but like, I cannot overstate that you are absolutely right. She was absolutely the movie star of the night, and it was so cool.
I mean, ever since she told me that she was going to come, I told her immediately, like, you were going to be like the biggest celebrity there. Like going back to high school, my friends would jokingly, somewhat jokingly, say to me, "Yeah, we just hang out with you so that we can come over and hang out with your parents. It's like we're not here for you." And I'd be like, "No, I mean, it doesn't make me feel great, but I get it because they are really cool and really fun. And the whole reason I put them in the videos in the first place is that I know how great and how funny and entertaining they are. And so I was like, if I just put them, on camera, people eat that shit up." And no, it was not as cynical as I make it sound, but yeah, it was really fun watching like my mom sign autographs. So cool. And yeah, she had such a great time.
That's awesome.
She had the best time. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really fun to see folks in their like element just talking and chatting. I got to meet Dave for the first time. I got to remind Matt and Jake who I was because I have had 2 different haircuts and like a different facial hair situation since then. So I absolutely didn't expect. And as soon as I mentioned that, that was awesome. Yeah,
the only interview they've ever done.
It's true.
To be clear, I'm not like locking them up and preventing them from getting press. They're just, and look, they're not going to disagree with this. They're bad at the internet and still don't seem to realize that they could have like any kind of careers doing any of the stuff that they they do with me. So yeah, they're not seeking this stuff out.
No. I mean, also, the last time you were on, you came to my apartment. I had a whole ass apartment fire before then too, which now we're back in that apartment and it's great. But like the last time it was in person, the three of you here, and now we're doing this over Zoom just because it's, I mean, just easier for everyone. Also, I think at this point, I haven't figured out how to do the in-person thing yet. Most of the local interviews I've done have all still been on Zoom because it's like, it's easy for everybody. We just hop on a call. All right, so I want to talk about with Night of the Coconut first. Just obviously, this was meant to be a short film, and that very quickly changed. And I know you've talked about this a bunch, but I'm curious, at what moment did you know, oh shit, there's too much of this to fit in 25 minutes? Like, was that an early realization, or did it just gradually happen over time?
It kind of gradually happened. Actually, I was just because the next video I'm making is a much simpler video than I usually make. It's a video basically just about how we put the whole season together, like how we turned a video essay channel into a serialized narrative TV show for like 2 years. And so because I think a bunch of interesting stuff happened in the development of all of this, and like we learned a lot of stuff, and so that's what the next video is about. And so in the past couple of days, I've been going back through just emails over the past year, like email chains, just very handy feature on Google Docs. You can look at different versions of a document from like when it was saved.
Oh,
and
cool.
So I was going back through the shared doc for the outline for the movie between Mike Curran, Jake Torpy, and me, and just looking at like when people added what things to be like, oh, here's the exact date that we decided to add this major plot point and stuff like that, and like looking at the different versions of the script. And yeah, and it just kind of steadily expanded over time. It wasn't like we got to make it 25 minutes and then it's like, oops, it's 90 minutes. It was more like, okay, yeah, 25, 30 minutes, then okay, looking more like 45 or so, then ooh, this might be an hour. Ooh, this might be 70. And it just kind of like kept growing from there. Like there was never the attempt to like wrangle it into a specific running time. It just kind of, it really just came down to, okay, this is the conclusion of this bizarre project we've been doing for a year and a half. And so we have a year and a half's worth of story to conclude. And on the what we have both been given this opportunity and like actual money to work with, which we never usually have. So we can do more than we usually do. And also, and again, this is before there was the idea of it being a feature film, and I can get into all the weird stuff that comes with it being a feature film. But it was basically just like, okay, we're making this for ourselves, but also for the viewers that have watched everything and that are invested in this. And so we might as well pay off everything and make this story like as satisfying as it can possibly be. And that really entailed just like, and it's funny, as I was going back through these other drafts of the script, I was realizing like, oh yeah, there was the point when we basically didn't even have much of like a third act, when it just like, it got to like, also to be clear, if anyone is listening and hasn't seen the movie, what I'm about to say is going to just sound like nonsense. Since I'm going to just get into plot related stuff, but bear with me. So like much of the story of the film is about an internet live stream that is going to kill everyone on Earth. And in earlier drafts of the script, it got to the live stream like way earlier in the story. Like suddenly that was happening, and I was realizing like it feels too rushed. Like especially considering that we had to in the movie reintroduce Matt as like a protagonist after he'd been gone from the story for a long time. And so we pretty much have to like reestablish like a central character, set up an arc and motivation and all of these things that basically, you need in like a feature length film. And so suddenly when the second half of it was kind of like getting to the climax really quickly, I was like, no, this isn't feeling right. And so I remember at some point I was like, we got to add in a whole like act 2 set piece where it's like to raise the stakes, where where they have to, break into like a facility and to like both to, I guess, like, we need to get our heroes and villains like closer together. We need to bring characters together so they can have conversations that can set up payoffs that have to happen later on. And suddenly, it's like, ooh, there's an extra like 20 pages right there. And that kind of thing just kept happening because, again, it wouldn't have been like this if we had just been able to write a whole script and lock it and have it done and then start shooting.
Right.
But because of the timeline for it, where we had to go immediately from the last video of the season, which came out in May 2021, into production, with, I think there was like a couple weeks in between. And so there was no time to just sort of like stop and get our bearings and like reconfigure and then like say, oh, like, and just like write a whole thing. So it just, the important thing is it all worked. And, but yeah, it was this thing that we were making was constantly like morphing and growing, like while it was happening.
And like, it's funny, what I love about your videos, and obviously you've talked about this before, you've been working with the cast of this forever. I mean, you've known your parents forever who are also in the cast, so obviously, but like, these are all longtime friends. But what I also love is that there's so much truth baked into the stuff. Having gotten to know you and Matt and Jake over time and stuff, and just seeing y'all online, like, after the premiere, I talked to Matt about the Matt Wine segment saving the day and like casually joked about Rugrats, like the new CG one, which is bad and I barely watched. And like, he went right into it. Like, that's genuinely how he feels about the Nickelodeon era. And it's not a bit. Like, he genuinely is upset with how they ruined that and many other shows. Like, he started talking to me about Doug. It was great. It was like, and so I like, and of course I feel the same way. Like, I think a lot of those cartoons were so much better than, and it's a whole other thing, but like, I love that. Is that always the goal for the videos and then of course the movie, to like bake in truths from your lives and from the actors' lives to kind of make it feel more real, or was it just a funny gag that you wanted to throw in?
So there's something like I'm constantly like trying to like reconcile this bizarre situation I've put both myself and my friends in, where we have become fictional versions of ourselves in this show and in the movie and all of that. Because this really just like, the way this all started was just like, okay, I have a YouTube channel and it's my name. It's Patrick Willems. And then when I started making video essays, and then especially when I started like appearing on camera in them, it was like, well, it's my channel and I host this and narrate it and whatever. So yeah, obviously this is me. This is like, I am the host here. And then when we started adding the narrative segments, the natural thing is like, well, this is the Patrick Willems channel. I'm Patrick Willems. If we're going to add a little story to it, it'll be like about like, oh, here's Patrick Willems. And then like setting up why I'm going to talk about this. And then I'll bring in people from my real life, to be themselves, like for fun. And skip ahead a little bit. And like, this is what we had to work with. This was our starting place. And so we get to a point where like, there was no changing that. It was just, this is an ongoing thing where the narrative conceit of it is, this is me and then my friends and family. And which does make it also weird when we have to bring in some new character who's like a character and then being like, okay, who can play this person? No, that person appeared once as themselves. Can't do that. And so yes, so this is what we were working from. It's not like, again, no one just handed us money and said, make a movie. It was like, oh, this is a movie spinning out of this thing that has just like snowballed over the past few years. And so we were already in the situation where everyone is just playing a fictional version of themselves. And so, and what we tend to do with this is just like, the narrative segments of the videos are usually pretty short. And so, you have to get to the point quickly, and like, be fairly broad with these things. So, the characterization tends to be like pretty simple. So especially like with the version of me that I played for the last like 2 years, it's like, okay, I'm just like a greedy, career obsessed asshole. Like, great. That's all my characterization right there. And then we also decided like, Jake is dumb.
Yes. Which, like, Jake being the writer and writing about how dumb he is increasingly funny to me as I know more of that.
Oh yeah, and Jake is obviously not a dumb person,
No.
but but it was a thing where we're like, well, we need character traits for him, and obviously he's like loyal to his friend, and he's like, he's like a good-hearted, moral guy, but also like we just decided, what if he's also dumb, and he wants to do the right thing, but his ideas are stupid. Like, there you go, and Matt's stuff is really just kind of like ramping up natural characteristics of Matt. So like during quarantine, when I ended up at my parents' house for 5 months because I was visiting them for a weekend in March, right when things got really bad, and at first I was like, I'll just stay until the end of the week until this blows over, assuming that it would. And then I spent 5 months there. And so Matt and I were roommates at the time, and he was back in our apartment. And he did seem to go a little crazy and drink too much. So Matt is, I guess, the wild card of the Torpies, and so we'd kind of, we'd lean into that a little bit. And so, but bring this back to Matt Wines and the cartoons. When quarantine started and I'm stuck at my parents' place, and suddenly all of the videos that I had scheduled to make over the next few months just didn't really work anymore. They were ones that often involved like, shooting them with other people present, or right. even just things as simple as like I had like a general kind of set that I would use for the videos, like this,
right.
In front of like me in front of a black backdrop and stuff like that. That was all back in the city. Like that was just at my apartment. So I was like, I don't have any of the usual stuff. I can't make the videos like match the way they used to, or do the ones that I was planning on. So let's just pivot the whole format. And thus we turned the show into a late night talk show for 5 months. And so once we decided to go with that format and really embrace the late night talk show thing, part of that became, let's just have different segments on the show that we cut to every episode, like a talk show would. And so, and it became like, okay, what are I guess skills are like what can different people do? And so like, Jake, can play guitar and stuff, and has like a camera, and so we were like, great, Jake and your wife Rachel, you'll be the house band. And Matt, I think we'd kicked around this funny idea because we knew that Matt was just always very passionate, specifically about the decline of Rugrats over the years. Years ago, I'm talking, was this like 2016? Matt and our friend Kendra James, now a best-selling author,
yes.
Used to host a podcast together when Kendra lived in New York called The Kids Table that would revisit 90s children and family films. And I remember one of the episode they never really got to was the Rugrats the movie episode, which was always alluded to just because like everyone, like it kept coming up that like Matt has serious things to say about that film and how it represents the death of like an era of Nickelodeon and all of that, and how he hates dill pickles and all of that. So we knew he has had, in the way that for years my friends all knew that I had my Fast and Furious monologue that I always end up doing at parties. If someone hadn't seen the Fast and Furious movies, I would like leap on them and go into this like 15-minute speech about why they must. And then eventually Jake suggested I turn that into the Patrick Explains Fast and the Furious and Why It's Great video. It was kind of the same thing where like we all know that Matt has this speech about the death of Rugrats that's like been ready to go. And so we're just like, how about one segment on the show is he just films that whole thing unbroken, like in one take while drinking a bottle of wine, sends me all the footage and I'll chop it up and like do a lot of editing to make it like coherent, like 1 minute pieces or installments. And so this is a very, very long way of saying that all of these things do come from some like kernel of truth. And then for our fictional selves, we are just amplifying what is already there and pushing it into like just more, I guess, narratively interesting and you know, more comedic directions.
It's really fascinating. Like, I mean, one of the unfortunate side effects of becoming friends with you and getting to know you in person is that I've also kind of become friends with Adam Lance Garcia, which has its own difficulties. But
a monster.
You know, monster. Previous guest of this show came on to talk about with the incredible Steele Philippic, who's awesome, but you know, Adam is fine.
I've never met Steele. Seems lovely, but Adam's a monster.
Yeah, terrible. But like all jokes aside, like talking about Adam and like his bid to be canon, which of course he never will be. Like, it is funny to think of this idea. By the way, Patrick's shaking his head because he won't ever become canon. I just wanted to say it verbally so the listeners knew.
Yeah. Why? Look, I take my work seriously, and why would I do something that would
could jeopardize your work?
It would jeopardize my work. It would. I just like. I don't want to throw my work in the trash.
No.
Yeah. That would ruin it all. So no, that would. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But that said, that idea is very funny to me. This idea of canonical versions of yourself, especially in this narrative, it's what you're talking about, and it must be a little strange to now have not only canonical versions of your friends, but your family as well, with the exception of your sister, who's lovely, and it only appears in the Q&A videos. So
she has Mary, my sister Mary. Sorry, I'm trying to just adjust my input level. Okay, yeah, this seems better. My sister Mary, I believe, last appeared in a narrative portion of a video in, was it like March or April 2018?
Wow.
It wasn't during the season.
Right.
But she has appeared in,
oh, yeah,
I believe it. Yeah, she's in the video. I believe it's called The Weird Problem with the DC Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a video that she is in. So, and look, and that the thing is, videos made before 2020 are canon. They don't all exist on the same Earth,
right?
Like in the same universe, but they all do exist somewhere in the multiverse that we've built. So yes, my sister is canon, even if it does remain to be seen whether or not she exists in this dimension. But yeah. Anyway. What were you saying?
Well, also the thing that's really cool is that, like, for me as a fan of nerdy things, the moment, and this is in the recap video, so I guess if you don't want any spoilers for Patrick's season, skip ahead a few minutes.
I don't care. Yeah, look.
But like the fact that you connected the Patrick Explains universe to this universe by being an alternate universe was so brilliant to me. Because there was a moment along those videos where it's like, wait, he's going to go to jail. I don't understand. How does this work? And like the fact that you threaded that needle is so endlessly amusing to me. Obviously, from the first Patrick Explains, that was not the case. You are not the Kevin Feige of your universe and was like, it's all been planned forever. Like, obviously, that came later. Do you remember when you were going to connect those universes? Was it during the movie stuff?
I no. I know exactly when I figured that out. So the thing I was just saying when I was like rambling about like what universe does my sister exist in? So I'd always had this vague idea like pre-2020, especially knowing that the Patrick Explains universe, or the Patrick Explains series, the one where I show up at my parents' house and I'm always wearing sunglasses and I'm always drunk and stuff like that. Like that is not the same version of me that's in the other videos. That takes place in its own universe. And there's one video where Chloe and Jake play like Hollywood studio executives. Yeah, obviously not the same versions of them that are in other videos. And so I'm just like, that's in a different Earth. And this thought I had at the back of my head was like, maybe as like, I don't know, a Patreon goal one day, we'll make like a little 10-minute short film that just explains how everything is tied together and like how there's a little multiverse here, just to satisfy the people who've paid attention and like watched all the videos. And that was all I really ever planned on doing. And then at the beginning of 2020, we had decided to do a year-long story arc, like a season of television. And so we knew we'd do that. And I was going on this trip to Mexico, usually every year. The agency I'm involved with, Standard, which Dave Wiskus, aka Dave the Agent, is the CEO of. We all go on this like retreat somewhere just to hang out for a week and like recharge. To be clear, they don't like pay for us all to go on vacation. They get just like, I don't know, like a nice like group rate or whatever. There's like, I'll use a break. It's good to just take some time off and hang out. And so we're there. It's in Mexico. We're just like at a resort for a week, and talking with the team, since we knew I was going on this trip. All we had for the season, for like the beginning of the season, figured out is, I don't know, Patrick comes back from Mexico and he's weird. And then we figure out why he's weird. And I think like before the trip, Mike had thrown out like, oh yeah, and you could bring back like a rock with googly eyes, and then Matt gets, and say it's your new best friend, and then Matt gets jealous. And so anyway, so we're on the trip, and you know, I'm there just like pounding margaritas by the pool every day, and I told Dave that I was planning on doing something with this, and he loved the idea. And he was very excited to like, oh, we could start shooting stuff now. So like flashback scenes to like what happened like on this trip. And I was like, I don't want to shoot anything until I figure out the ending. I need to know where it's going, like because we've got to reveal like what happened on the trip. Why did I come back being weird? And then at some point, like, I don't know, like halfway through the trip, I then remembered the multiverse idea, and then was like, holy shit, wait a second. What if on this trip, the Patrick Explains Patrick somehow came over to this Earth and took the place of regular me? And that guy is already like, you know, like an out of control asshole. And then he just replaces me for the rest of the year. And then we can reveal at the end that entire series was like a prequel to everything else. And so that was it. So that was the thing.
Amazing.
Like straight up, if you look at the first video of 2020, like this video released like 2.5 years ago, at the beginning of the video, it opens up with me washing up on the shore of like a deserted island and walking into a jungle. And then it says 2 weeks later, and then it cuts to me wearing sunglasses at night, walking back to my apartment in Brooklyn. And I get there and I look around the apartment as if it's this strange place I've never seen before. And then I take the sunglasses off. And I thought this was being too obvious. I take the sunglasses off and then put on new glasses. The ones I have on right now, these blue ones that are not the glasses I had for the last like 2 years. And so it's all right there at the beginning.
Love it.
And then with the next few Patrick Explains videos, we knew exactly where we had to go. So it's like, okay, so next one is going to be him at like the deposition with the lawyers and we introduced the whole tax evasion thing. Then the next one is him in jail. And the one after that, he's broken out of jail, back at his, returns to his parents' house. And then at the end of the video crosses over into dimensions. Even though this took like 1.5 years because there was a pandemic that like kind of got in the way a little bit. It pretty much, that part of it happened, and like the way we like gave out the reveals, that happened exactly as we originally planned.
That's amazing. And so my next question as a fan of the channel is, obviously, I don't want to get into the spoilers for the movie. The movie only just recently came out, and it has a continuity that's worth preserving, I think. Some of those surprises are really fun. But knowing before going into the movie that obviously this Patrick is no longer in his universe, will we ever see another Patrick Explains video? Because technically the parents he can explain to, he's not with anymore. Like, obviously you're not going to answer that now, but I imagine those kinds of questions are things you're asking yourself, right? Like, how do I continue these series or go back to other series now that these universes have kind of converged a bit?
So I will say this past December, so 6 months ago, we did make another Patrick Explains video that is actually okay, how do I explain this clearly? That is not set in the same universe as all the other videos in the series.
Uh-huh.
As in, it establishes he has this impulse to just explain movies. And so he visits the parents of the Patrick in this universe, who are not technically his parents. And which is why they seem more confused than usual. And so, but he's just like, I got to explain a movie to him. So I found a way to still do it, but that to be fair, that was set within the season.
Right.
So I've thought about this, and I've thought about it a bit, and I will think about it more, because this is a minor spoiler. The Patrick Explains Patrick is not dead.
Right. He doesn't die in this
movie.
film. Right. He's still around.
There's not a lot of death in this, although we did kill Jake.
You did kill Jake. Jake is dead.
But that was a year ago.
Yeah, it's fine. Old news.
I've seen some people pop up like some people were asking me, was it like on Reddit or something? Just like, wait, so is Jake's death canon? And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
He like dies in the show. It's like, what?
How could it not be?
What are you talking about? Yeah, that was weird. But so this Patrick, he still exists. So it's absolutely possible that there's a way that we could do a Patrick Explains video again. Because the thing with Patrick Explains videos is just like the premise is just movies that I think are either underrated or under-discussed that deserve to be celebrated. And then I give a really, intense monologue about why they're great and we should all recognize how great they are. That's a pretty malleable format. You can do a lot with that. And there is a distinct possibility that the series could return in some shape or form. There's also the thing of like my general thing is the reason I ended up in this bizarre situation. I don't like repeating myself, and I get really bored if I just make the same video over and over again. And so, the Patrick Explains videos are fun. Like they're generally fun. They're easier than most of my other videos to make. But the fun there, a lot of it became just like it just became the sort of collaboration between my parents and I, and like talking about like where the story will go and stuff like their contributions to the episodes. And so if I just never make another one of them and the series is just over, I won't lose sleep over that. That could be okay. I'm not saying that's the case. I know people, a lot of people like those videos, but so yeah, basically my short answer is there are ways it could return. There's also a possibility that we never make one of those again.
I mean, and that's totally fair. I think what's funny to me is the idea of that Patrick then just explain, like if he can't explain to your parents, then he just explains to a group of pigeons on the corner, or to Matt.
Like, I've thought about this. I assure you, the stuff that you're saying, I have thought of. I have thought about all of this.
Of course. I want to talk a little bit about Nebula. The movie premiered on Nebula. It's currently only on Nebula. And that was a decision you made early on, because Nebula, of course, gave you the budget to make this thing.
I will say it's only going to be on Nebula. We're not. No matter what some people say or like complain about, no, we're not going to release it on YouTube. Like Nebula has the exclusive streaming rights, and that's how it goes. And sorry to be like, have to think about like business and stuff, but not everything can be free all the time. I spent, even though we had a budget for this, I also spent a lot of my own money on it.
Yeah.
And so, this is the way it goes. And sometimes paywalls are necessary because sometimes art costs money to make.
And I agree. And I think that also as a Nebula user, because I have a Nebula account, it is completely worth it. Like there are so many incredible creators that I didn't even know were on it, like Maggie Mae Fish and like all of these incredible people who I've watched their videos for years, extra credits, all this stuff. But I want to talk about
both those people are in the movie.
They are. So I want to talk a bit about Nebula. And my pipe dream is to get Dave the Agent on the podcast at some point to really go deep on the creation of this thing. But it is a creator-owned company. Like the creators invest in this thing that they run together, more or less. So talk a little bit about like why Nebula is important, how it got started. I know you're very invested in it and its success as well, because I'd love for the listeners to know, especially if they haven't pulled the trigger on Nebula yet, a little bit more about why it's so special and so important.
So Nebula is a streaming platform that is it's. I think the important thing to establish is it's not meant as a competitor to YouTube or a replacement to YouTube, because that's impossible. You won't replace YouTube. It is like the default, the standard for online user uploaded videos. Nebula is really kind of designed as, I guess, kind of like the sort of an extension of it. Like the way it goes is there's about like 150 plus creators. It's all a curated thing. Like Nebula has to reach out to people to ask them to join. People can't just go upload their own stuff. There's no comments on it. There's no likes on it. It's much closer to Netflix than it is to YouTube. And the point of it is this curated thing. There's no algorithm. It is designed like by smart people who are constantly working on it to give people the best experience possible. But it's pretty much like, okay, here is this big collection of what we think are many of the best video creators on the internet right now. And here are all their regular videos, but with no ads. And also, importantly to me, their video compression is better than YouTube, so the videos look better than they do on YouTube. But also, many people are constantly, having like bonus material in their videos, so you can watch like longer cuts of them. And then, really, like the biggest thing for me is there is so much exclusive stuff there, like original Nebula productions that will not be on YouTube at all. And the thing is, because again, there is no algorithm to worry about, you don't have to worry about, the views and the comments and the likes and the engagements. I mean, like, obviously we'd like people to watch it and all that, but because the algorithm is this really tricky beast that, for instance, so recently, the channel Real Engineering, which also has a cameo in Night of the Coconut, has been doing this whole Nebula series, this like documentary series about the Battle of Britain. It's called The Battle of Britain. And the thing is, on YouTube, if you put any war footage in the video, even if it doesn't matter if it's like graphic or not, just war footage, the video will be demonetized. That means the algorithm will not promote it. That means people will not watch it. It will not make money. And so if Brian from Real Engineering had made this and this project that, obviously like had a budget and and cost money to put together, if he had made that on YouTube, it would just get buried and lose a bunch of money. But on Nebula, they provided a budget to make it. They promoted it constantly, and so there people will see it properly, and that's really it. It's like, okay, so you like these creators on YouTube, cool. Would you like to both support them and also get more of the stuff that they're doing? And the more people that sign up, the more that we'll be allowed to do. Like the more our budgets will increase, and the scale and ambition of our projects can increase, and the more risks we can take on new kinds of projects. Because again, on YouTube really wants you to just find one thing that works and do that one specific thing over and over and over again. And so Nebula is like, in the way that sometimes, some creators will have like a Patreon feed where it's like, oh, if you want the bonus features, you like pay a few bucks a month, to get like, I don't know, the like bonus episodes or whatever. It's kind of like that, except it's for like 150 plus creators.
I love that. I think that we're stuck in this place where content creation, a word that is often bleh, it's this idea of churning stuff out, and maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't, it dies on the vine. To have a space that's just for the creators, that's like, we can do what we want. Again, citing you made an entire feature film about a coconut with googly eyes, like literally whatever you want. I think it's such a great space because it's so much harder to kind of find that freedom. I mean, I think you know better than most what saying one wrong thing or doing one thing that one person doesn't like can kind of spiral. I mean, you are one of the reasons, and it's not your fault, obviously, because I'm with you, that I don't talk about Star Wars on Twitter anymore, unless it's to talk about a game I played and literally to post screenshots, because you can't argue with screenshots. Well, you could. But like watching your experience with Star Wars on YouTube and on Twitter made me also go through the same experience in smaller circles. And I'm like, well, now I'm just not going to talk about this thing. But I could see a world where you might make an exclusive video about Star Wars something on Nebula only because no
Matt,
comments.
don't put
no
words in my mouth. Like,
no, of course not.
I mean, I did declare in February 2020, this is the last video about Star Wars I'll ever make. And I
no asterisks.
Be careful there. There's no asterisk on there being like on YouTube. I have zero intention to change that, but also I know what you mean.
Yeah, for sure. And it's more the idea that now you have this space where you could talk about things you may not want to talk about with a comment section because comments can be really shitty and devolve into nonsense. And so it must be nice to have that space where you can kind of just go, hey, Dave the agent, what about this thing? And he inevitably just says yes. That must feel very, very freeing comparatively to YouTube.
It does. I mean, so I will say I've managed to end up in this fortunate position on YouTube where my audience will kind of just go with me into whatever I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think that, some of this came from just us putting this crazy amount of effort into the videos and trying to make each one feel like a massive production with like a whole like narrative element involved. But I noticed that so many viewers just got in the habit of watching every video, even though they'll say like, I've never seen this movie. I don't care about this topic at all, but I'm going to watch it. And I've compared my analytics with other creator friends, and my channels are kind of an anomaly in the sense that, I mean, not to get too far into inside baseball stuff, but on most channels, the majority of views come from non-subscribed viewers who find the videos through like being recommended on the sidebar.
Right.
The majority of my viewers are subscribers who just watch every video. And I mean, I'll put it so like my audience, I've seen the analytics, still is like 90% male. And I wish I could, I wish things could balance out a little bit. I'm just like, I don't think I'm making like, especially like male centric videos. But that's what it tells me. And yet in the summer of 2020, I don't know if they were back to back or close together at least. I made videos about Christopher Nolan and then about Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
Yep.
And those videos got pretty comparable views. Normally, that should be like the Nolan one should have like 10 times the views of the Mamma Mia video, but no, people just watched them both. So I'm in this really lucky position where, I'm like, my videos are going to be about movies in general, but the stuff, I don't feel like there's anything that I can't cover on
right.
YouTube because, it's generally all gone fine. And so really for me, the Nebula thing, and I'm definitely going to do more Nebula stuff. That is largely, at least for me right now, for like narrative film, because like, I think if I'm going to do a video essay, it'll probably fit with what I'm doing on YouTube. YouTube does not really like narrative storytelling the way they used to.
Right.
There was a different era of YouTube when people made like serialized web series, and there was an audience for that. And, like people cared about it. That era has been gone for years. But so putting like a short film on YouTube, probably gonna get totally buried. No one will watch it. But with Nebula, we can get a budget to make it, which is great. I really, really hope that we can get a bigger budget for the next project so I can maybe hire a crew. That would be great. But then also like knowing that Nebula will like promote it, and they will give us like in-house like post-production resources. And yeah, they'll, I'm sure like if I do a short film, they'll help with like film festival submissions and all that kind of thing. And while if I were on YouTube, it'd just be all independent, all trying to do it myself, just begging people to watch it while the algorithm just buries it into the ground. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's something that a lot of folks don't always think about when it comes to their favorite creators. I mean, it's funny, you talk about people following you everywhere. I mean, I'm that viewer. Like, I had never seen either Mamma Mia movie, but did I watch that video? You bet your ass I did. And I loved it. Like,
but have you watched the Mamma Mias?
I have since watched them since seeing your video. And that's been a pattern a lot of like, I'll see you talk about a thing and I'll go, all right, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And usually I'm with you. Like, it's funny. I talked to you very recently about the most recent video you did on Sam Raimi and how hilariously it has nothing to do with most of the things that people have seen Sam Raimi do. It's about a very specific scene in a specific movie, but yet that's still captivating. And your breakdown of it is captivating. And I think that's what's really interesting about your audience is that, like you said, they'll go with you anywhere because most people, when they talk about Sam Raimi, they'll talk about Spider-Man or Evil Dead or whatever. But you're talking about a very specific hula hoop related scene in a specific movie. But your analysis is brilliant. Is the intent to always kind of, I'm guessing at this point, you're just talking about what you like and love and want to talk about. You're not really concerned about what like you said, what your audience likes because they seem to like whatever you like because they're just on the ride.
Yeah, in general, I actively try to avoid doing like topical videos because it's a thing where it's like, I don't know, if there's a big movie coming out, then everyone's talking about this thing. And I don't know how unique my take will be. I mean, like a rare exception was back in March. I did make a Batman related video like after the Batman came out. And I was like, I felt a little weird about it after I'd like decided, because that was like a last minute decision.
Right.
I suddenly just like had a take and I was like, oh shit, I think I'm going to do a topical video for once. and part of me was like, to be clear, I know my Twitter bio says trying really hard to sell out. And I do really want to sell out. Please let me direct like a Volkswagen commercial or something. But with that one, I think my audience trusts that I'm not just hopping on whatever's popular for the views, that it's like with every single video, it's clear that I am like excited and passionate about whatever this thing is. And I think that's what gets them to come back. Just like, well, if Patrick really cares about this, then, like, let's hear what he has to say. And so with the Batman video, what made me decide to make it was just, thinking, okay, I think I've got a take here that everyone else making Batman videos right now is probably not doing. And I am very passionate about this because I'm not going to do this, but I could do an all Batman channel because that's a topic I could talk about forever. And so that was an exception. But yeah, usually it's just, and look, I've got the entire like next year's worth of video topics all planned out. A lot of these I've been saving for a while.
Are any of these the ones that got like kind of lost in the talk show season? Like, are some of the that's what I figured.
Some of these are topics that I've been waiting like 2 years to make. And yeah, and the general rule with all of them is, am I really like, are these the things that if I wasn't making videos that I would just like go off on my friends about and just like on a whole monologue, just like guys, I've been thinking about this thing. You ever notice how the arc of this director's career goes in this direction, and then there are like these pivot points after certain films? You ever think about that? And then he like switched the cinematographer he was working with. That's just what I would do normally, and so if it's that kind of thing, if I just find myself going down like a deep research rabbit hole just on my own, just like because I'm interested in a topic, that's what kind of like decides for me, like, okay, this should be a video because I'm just excited about it.
I love that. And you said, so you have the next year's worth of videos planned. I assume that means you also have the next year's worth of narrative more or less planned, so you know where you're headed. I guess not. I guess not. I mean, obviously, I assume since you're going to be working on a video coming up soon to release for the new year, for the new season, you must know at least the starting point. But have you not planned the whole next arc, or are you just kind of seeing where it goes?
So here's the thing. We have already shot the opening scene for the next season.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have already shot like the kicking off of the narrative for the next season. But I'm not entirely sure what the future holds. And this is not me being like, I think I'm going to quit YouTube or whatever. It's really just that I don't want to say anything like publicly right now, just like declaring what's going to happen, because
Sure.
on the one hand, currently, okay, so you know how I mentioned before that before we started making the season that we just finished up with a feature-length movie, I knew exactly where it was going. I had it all planned out. I knew the big twist from the start. I don't have that for whatever the next season is. I have no big grand arc figured out. So we don't have that. There's also a part of me that I love making these videos. I love doing the silly narrative stuff with my friends and everything. I also know there is a limit to how big an audience that can reach. And so, you know, I'm also like, do I want to lock myself into doing this specific narrative for this much time and then making another feature film that is again starring my friends and I as ourselves? I honestly don't know. Because yeah, there's other things I'd like to make as well. But also I have to make YouTube videos because that's what I do for a living. And I prefer making them when there's some kind of narrative element there. So that will still be there. I don't know where it will go. But also, I was just texting with Jake and Mike, our main narrative writers, yesterday. And we're thinking that we're going to try to, I pitched this to them. I was like, guys, crazy idea. And I hope this works out because they're actually into the idea of sometime in the next month, just the three of us doing like a weekend retreat to just figure out what's next and just like the plans for the future. Also, again, for instance, I haven't even asked like Chloe and Matt, like, hey, do you want to do more of this, or are you just like fucking done?
Right, the heroes of the film.
Are you like, oh, okay, we got out, thank God that's over, never going back. So yeah, I'm not gonna decide anything before I talk to everyone and see, would you even want to be involved? So we'll see. But yeah, Jake, Mike, and I are gonna, you know, we'll hopefully like spend a weekend just like kicking around ideas and seeing like, yeah, what will happen next. So anyway, I don't really have a coherent answer.
No, that's okay. I mean, I love the freeform of that. I mean, obviously, based on how you talked about the movie, which also sort of had a plan that then you threw out the plan because you were building something bigger. I get the sense that that's kind of how it's going to be for a while, because that's kind of the mode you've been in of just kind of planning and going. You know, again, Charles is the key to our success. So, and Charles is so adorable. He's right up there on my chart, but like, and right above you as well. But like, so it's hard to know what will happen with Charles, but he was so integral to this channel. So I'm sure we'll see him somewhere. And I mean, he was at the premiere, he hasn't retired from film, I assume. He was at the premiere hanging out. So like,
I wouldn't hold your breath about seeing Charles again anytime soon.
Of course not.
I think, you know what? I'm going to say it. I think we've got a break from coconuts for a little while.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's all pineapples next.
No, pineapples.
That was a joke. No. Do not take that seriously. But yes, a break from coconuts.
Yeah, sure. I mean, can you believe at this point that you made a year's worth of year and a half's worth of content based around a coconut with googly eyes. Does that still surprise you to this day that worked?
Does. Yeah. It is also funny looking at the way the narrative kind of went, because Charles is there from the beginning, but it doesn't seem like it's all about him for a while. Like for quite a while, it's mostly just what is up with Patrick and why is he being a jerk?
Yeah.
And then also, and why is he like hanging out with this coconut? Is this like an imaginary friend? Like it's not suddenly the Charles show right from the start. And then it becomes more about Charles, and then to the point where our goal was to be like, everyone, be looking at Charles and stop considering that maybe Patrick isn't really the Patrick that you know. But thinking back to the very beginning, actually, it's funny, when we released the very first video of the season, I remember just looking at the response to it, and the audience did not really seem to realize right away that this was going to be a serialized thing. I thought we were making it very clear. Like, I thought people were going to guess the twist, like, right up front. And I was like, oh, shit, this isn't going to work. And then the video comes out and people don't seem to realize that it's going to continue. They just thought it was like a one-off little thing. And I remember, like, seeing that response, then being like, guys, okay, we've got to underline this stuff in the next video. We've got to make it very clear that this is going to keep on going. And then people, like, caught up with it and like figured it out and, caught on. But it still was not clear for a while that people actually like cared and were invested in it. It really just kind of like, because that was the thing, like, if people didn't give a shit, then we probably would not have made a feature-length movie. So it was a big relief, because, like, considering, like, starting from this place where people were just like, I don't know, like, that was a fun little, like, one-off little thing. What do you got next? And then to skip ahead a year and or not a year, 2 years, and suddenly people are actually like watching this movie. Yeah, I'm really. I was not sure at the beginning that it would work out like that. I knew we would do some kind of finale, but there was a world where it was just like, I don't know, maybe even just like a 20-minute, just kind of like final act.
Right. I think what's really cool about the content that you make and why I've been a fan for so long is because it seems like you were genuinely doing what you love and talking about what you love. I mean, thinking back to the first time I ever met you, when you were guest number 2 on Screen Snark, and we just hit our 100th episode, so you were there from the beginning. But like,
who was number 1?
A friend of ours named Victor Devon. He's a burlesque performer and producer, so you were so close.
Yeah, he got there first.
But like, back then, I knew you as the guy who made the X-Men video online that everybody loved. I didn't know anything else at the time, and then after, like, when you were coming on the show, I did research and fell in love with your stuff. But even from back then, it's clear that you're a movie nerd, you love film, and you make things about that. Now that you've done a movie premiere, you've planned your next season, you're kicking things into gear, is there anything you want to try and do that you haven't done, either in your videos or on Nebula? I know you mentioned possibly doing a short film of some kind, but like, is there anything you really want to try your hand at that you haven't had a chance to do as things are gearing up for the new season?
Yeah. Also, to be clear, I would hesitate to say things are gearing up for the next season. I am very much in rest mode right now.
As you should be.
Thinking about anytime, no joke, and this is not to make anyone feel bad, but whenever I hear people say like, "I'm so excited to see what you make next," I go, "Oh God, yeah." Gotta make something next. Oh God, I don't even want to think about that right now. I mean, it's the classic thing of like, many directors and actors have said this before, but like, as soon as you finish a movie, being asked like, "Oh, what are you doing next?" Is like asking a woman who's just given birth, like, "Oh, do you want to have another one?"
Yeah.
And it feels, I mean, not that I have given birth, but it feels like a decent analogy. But again, right now we're in a like, let's chill out and then reconvene in like a few weeks. Like the new season, I think will start in August. I actually, had a video scheduled for July that I deleted from the schedule this morning because I was like, I need more of a break. I think I'm just gonna like, I don't know. I really wanted to in July, just like, I don't know, fly to some like European country for 10 days and just like chill out and read some books. I actually think I'm going to do that.
You should.
Yeah. But so as far as what I want to do that I have, so there's multiple answers to this question. One of my major priorities, and I think this is going to happen in the fall. I really want to make sure this happens in the fall. I mentioned that I would like to do a short film. I do actually like have a short film that I am like currently writing that I am going to try very hard to make this fall. And I would really like to have enough of a budget on that to have a real crew for like the first time in my life. Because like making Night of the Coconut, kind of like making most of the videos, I am the director, I'm the cinematographer. In that, I also had to sometimes be an actor, which is not a thing I have any interest in ever doing again. I'm technically like the assistant director and the producer, and I'm just, there's no crew. I'm just doing everything. Right. And so the idea of being like, what if we had a cinematographer and then like a gaffer to work on the lighting, and then a first assistant director who will make sure that we're staying on schedule and keep things organized, and then like a proper like boom operator to work to do audio, and so I could just direct. That sounds incredible, and that is so. Yeah, my active like number one goal is make another film project in the near future that is a much shorter film, but also with more resources. That is a more professional production. And then in terms of the videos, I'm not to just like monologue out loud about like,
please,
you know,
that's why you're here.
I know, but you know, like this is the thing. Like I don't have answers here because it's like I'm constantly trying, because my videos have the essays and the narrative portions, and I'm always trying to figure out how to integrate them better and like reach my vague conception of like a perfect kind of like my perfect kind of video. And so that's really a thing. Like thinking about next season, I'm like, okay, how do we blend these things together better? How can we get better at like constructing a narrative framework for these video essays? And I don't have a real answer there, but I'm just like, I want to get better at doing the thing that I already do like pretty well, because I think I would like to become great at it if that's possible. And so, yeah, so it's basically doing more ambitious movie stuff on a larger scale, and then just making better videos.
I think that's a perfectly fine answer. And like, okay. Patrick, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. I really do hope you get to relax for a little while. I hope that you get to play some more Zelda Breath of the Wild and maybe finish it. I hope that for you.
Well, I haven't played any of it in a year and a half.
But like, I really do hope you get to take the time, because you absolutely deserve it. Again, this film is, I genuinely just love this film. It's funny. It's ridiculous. Like, I've told this to people before. One of your good friends, Rachel Quirky Shank, my co-host on Screen Snark, I say this all the time. If I tell a friend that they are an idiot, that this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, that is the highest form of compliment I could pay somebody. For me, like, and Night of the Coconut is just the goofiest, stupidest shit I've ever seen, and I love it. Yet it still has heart, and like, it's just the wildest ride. And like, seriously, if you have not seen it yet, please go watch it. It is on Nebula right now as we speak. But thank you so much for being so generous with your time. I genuinely love the work that you're doing. And though it makes you a little nervous because you want some time to relax, I am excited to see what you do next. And so thank you for just being so open, honest, and generous with your time here. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is no joke. My throat felt like I'd gargled broken glass pretty much by this past Sunday. Just in the thing of like, we had the premiere and I had like destroyed my body leading up to that, like finishing the movie. And then the week of like, then last week, I just booked so many other podcasts that I had to appear on. So I'm like still like I'm like barely sleeping. The movie's out. I'm then having to like final changes to it, and it's just like every day it's like podcasts and then like there was the after party like after the movie and like destroyed my voice there, and it like hurt to talk, and so I have taken the last few days off from speaking. This is by far like I was like, knowing that I had this on the schedule, I was like, okay, that's going to be my big talking time for the week. You gotta rest up for that. And I gotta say, this has been a pleasure. And my throat does not feel terrible right now. I'm gonna still like chill out after this, but it's like great experience, lovely conversation. Thank you for the very, very nice questions, and I'm like. I'm also just relieved that this did not like wreck my voice again.
I'm glad. Before we wrap up the show, one last thing I want to ask, although I think I know the answer, but like I've been asking folks, we're still living through a pandemic. It's not over yet. Please get vaccinated, wear a mask, get boosted, all of that stuff. But, and we've all had different struggles and trials and tribulations. You've talked a lot about the difficulty of making your work during this time. But I'm curious if there's like a golden light moment or like a very clear, like, this is a good thing to come out of this terrible time for you. I feel like it has to be this film, but like talk a little bit about if it's that, like, was that really like this shining moment in this otherwise like what could have been a terrible time? Like what was your like shining light moment that got you through this?
I really I mean, like just really doubling down and focusing on work, because as much as there were definite changes that we had to do to the work because of the pandemic, I was pretty like I already worked from home. Like this was not a huge life change, but specifically the during like quarantine, like 2020, as exhausting as it could be, making the talk show videos was maybe the most fun I had in the past like 2 years or so. And especially because the thing about that was like everyone's stuck in their homes. And with like my team and I that I work with, during that period, the videos became more collaborative than they usually are because everyone else was like shooting stuff on their own, sending in segments and all of that. And just getting to, despite us being physically separated more than usual, in a way, it brought us closer together because we were just collaborating like in a new way and like more actively than we had been before. And that was so much fun. Just like seeing their pieces come into my email every day, and then just like getting to discover like what they'd shot. That was the most fun of the whole thing. And so it was this really kind of wonderful time brought on by this really terrible time. And that is absolutely the bright spot for me.
I love that answer. Well, thank you again, Patrick. Before I have you do our sign off, please tell folks where they can find you. If someone happens to be listening and doesn't know who you are, which I don't think is possible, please tell them where they can find you, your films, your work, where the best place to check everything out is. Give the plugs.
So you can watch my movie, Night of the Coconut, on Nebula. My videos are all also there. If you want a free version, you can't watch my movie for free, but my videos are also available on YouTube at youtube.com/Patrick H. Willems. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, also at Patrick H. Willems.
Highly recommend. Please go check out everything Patrick's doing. He's doing some incredible stuff. Before we close the show, I have a saying and the saying is, music is life and life is good. It's this idea that is, and I know Patrick feels this within his bones. As long as you're making stuff, even when stuff gets really hard, the creating will get you through. As long as you're making stuff, you can make it through the worst of it. So if you could say music is life and life is good, we will close the show.
Music is life and life is good.
That's it for this episode of CPOV Autographs. Our theme music is by Michael Kill. Our logo was designed by Case Aiken and Joey Amons. If you liked the show, please rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. It's a great way to help us reach more listeners. Questions, comments, or guest recommendations? Email mr.matt.storm@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at CPOV Autographs. Thank you so much for listening.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't screen beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential screen beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
Writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not.
Can I call them screen beans now?
Fine.
Screen beans.
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
'Cause you're all screen beans now.
She will be mine. Aurora.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.